The first time I met Mark's secretary, she nearly knocked me over with the car door. The windows were tinted, so I couldn't see Mark's secretary sitting in the passenger seat. Just as I was about to open the car door, she suddenly pushed it open from the inside. I was hit hard, tears streaming down my face from the pain. Mark, however, only defended her. The young girl was a bit reckless, but she didn't mean it. The seed of conflict was planted at that moment. From then on, Mark protected his young girl everywhere. Although I could gain the upper hand in arguments, I was the only one truly suffering damage. Later, I finally realized I couldn't waste away in this mire. So, without discussing it with Mark, I submitted a divorce application directly to the court. Receiving the summons, Mark was filled with regret. He finally spoke to me properly. "Wifey, as long as we don't divorce, I'll agree to any condition." I thought for a moment and asked him, "I want to be the company president, and you go home to take care of the child. Do you agree to this condition?" At the company's anniversary celebration, I was left out in the cold. Throughout the banquet, Mark and Rebecca fluttered like butterflies among the guests together. In contrast, I, the president's wife, was superficially respected, with nothing for me to do, but in reality, my presence was greatly diminished. If you ask who dares to provoke me like this, that would be Rebecca, my husband's newly promoted assistant. If you ask who gave her such courage, who else could it be but my husband, who holds the power? Since we meet on a narrow path today, let's decide a winner. Finally, it was time for the recalling bitterness and savoring sweetness segment. According to past customs, the founders of the company would go on stage to give speeches, recalling the past or envisioning the future. In short, this was an indispensable segment, and one where I had to be on stage. I hid in the restroom in advance. "Ignoring me, aren't you? I'll deliberately be even more solitary and uncooperative. Smear them first, then crash the party." I took out my phone in the restroom. The company anniversary celebration was being live-streamed so that directors who couldn't be present could join in the excitement. According to the normal order, I was after Mark. At this moment, Mark was talking eloquently while frequently looking behind him, as if checking if I had arrived so he could hand the microphone to me. The host was also a bit flustered. After all, my absence disrupted his prepared speech. Seeing my delay, Mark's face darkened. The host also seemed to make up his mind. Taking the microphone from Mark and continuing calmly, speeches were in order of rank. I sneaked back after most people had finished speaking. Then I walked towards the stage with leisurely steps. Seeing me appear, the host was flustered for a moment again. He looked at Mark, and I looked at him too, finding Mark's face even darker. I walked onto the stage as if no one else was there, standing behind the last speaker. The host weighed the situation quickly. After the previous person finished speaking, he swiftly handed the microphone to me, and said, "Madam is the finale, the treasure of our company. Now, let's invite Madam to talk about the development and feelings over these years," making it sound as if I was specially arranged to be last. I didn't follow his cue. Breaking his intention to gloss over the piece, I took the microphone with a faint smile. "Sorry, I'm late," then made a helpless expression. "Blame the phone. Playing with phones really delays things nowadays. By the way, when did you start? Why didn't anyone call me?" Now, the employees sitting below began to discuss animatedly. Mark stood beside me, not too far and not too close, making us look quite loving. Hearing this, his expression changed slightly, and he wanted to take the microphone from me to prevent me from saying more, but I dodged lightly. Taking advantage of the host's inattention, I snatched his speech script from his hand. Holding the microphone and looking at the script, I pretended not to care much. "Is there a part for me in this segment? I'm confused. Come, let me see." The host was anxious. He didn't know what I would say next or how he should respond. I held the script, reading it very seriously, reading aloud as I read. Recalling bitterness and savoring sweetness segment. After President Mark finishes, let Mrs. Mark speak. Remember, she is also a major shareholder. There should be a prompt here. I pretended to suddenly realize. Sure enough, there is me in this segment. By the way, I didn't notice this program started. Why didn't anyone remind me? Did you not find me? The host wanted to pick up the topic but found it difficult. The fact that I was neglected was exposed to everyone. I saw Rebecca standing below the stage where the overall situation was being managed, her face dark, biting her lower lip. I added another stab. "I've been sitting at that table all along. Didn't stand up or walk around. Colleagues at that table can testify." I pointed with my hand. That seat was so remote. Many people began to whisper, "Is it really okay to put a major shareholder and the president's wife in such an inconspicuous position?" Many were also sighing. Even the veterans on stage looked gloomy. I continued. Let me talk about recalling bitterness and savoring sweetness. Does this even need to be said? Didn't you do exactly this today? I tasted bitterness again. And I don't know if I can recall the so-called sweetness anymore. Face is torn, but I can't be the villain. So, I immediately rounded up my words. Needless to say, the hardships back then were not in vain. How many people fell on the road of entrepreneurship? As for me and President Mark was looking at me with a dark expression, his face sunk like water, yet he seemed not to care much, a bit like smashing a cracked pot. I stopped halfway. I looked at Mark and sighed. This sigh made Mark freeze. I was deeply emotional. We who once shared joys and sorrows have no future. After a long while, I spoke again. Cherish what we have while moving forward. The people below didn't know what shocking words I was going to say, holding their breath waiting. Hearing me say cherish what we have while moving forward, the whole hall burst into laughter. Well, I didn't lift this last fig leaf, but they seemed even more ashamed. The crowd slowly quieted down after laughing, secretly interpreting the flavor of my words. Watching the people with various expressions, I slowly walked down the steps and returned to my remote seat. I have a share in the company too. I can't really cause a shock to the company, but I don't want to make it easy for the adulterous couple either. In the following itinerary, Mark wanted to drag me along for social engagements, but it was too late. Kindness past its expiration date cannot be enjoyed. I politely refused. I haven't worn high heels for a long time. My feet are blistered. Mark gritted his teeth and said, "Didn't you know to bring a spare pair of shoes?" I spread my hands. I haven't participated in these activities for a long time. I forgot. Actually, it was because of Mark, not just today's neglect. He hadn't taken me out for a long time, so I wouldn't remember. He sighed helplessly, as if he couldn't do anything with me, and said to me with some indulgence, "Then when seeing off guests later, persist a bit and see people off with me." I pretended to recall. That's not right. In the segment agreed with me. There isn't this item. I pretended to be distressed. Did I remember wrong? Mark's face was iron blue. Alice, how long are you going to make a scene? Me making a scene. My face turned completely cold. Do you know what you are saying? Mark turned his face away, pretending to be magnanimous. In public, I won't bicker with you. Let's talk when we get home. I went home to wait for Mark, but I waited for several hours, even took a nap, before he came home. Looking at his somewhat stumbling figure, my expression was gloomy. He said to me calmly, "Went for a drink with old Wu and the others again. Don't overthink. Get me some hangover soup." I asked the domestic helper to serve him, turned around, and went back to sleep. Mark exploded. "Alice, what craziness are you pulling? I work hard inside and out. Where have I wronged you? Can't I have a female employee around me? Look at other bosses. Are their surroundings like a monk temple?" After speaking, he slammed the door and left as if he had the moral high ground, and I wouldn't wait for him anymore, because Mark and I were supposed to attend a banquet tonight. Our son was sent to my mom's house. Now I was the only one at home. I pondered for a moment and called my niece in college. "Didn't you want to hold a birthday party? Want to change the venue and continue the fun? Champagne, caviar, everything you want. Auntie treats you." My niece's cheers came from the other end of the phone. She even gave me a big kiss through the phone. As young people poured in, my huge mansion became very lively. Some didn't even recognize who I was and wanted to buy me a drink. In the deafening music, my bad mood was swept away. Happy, money can buy it too. Doesn't have to be given by him. My niece wanted an all-night party. I left in the early morning. Before leaving, I specially instructed my niece that there was no need to clean up anything. The domestic helper would clean. My niece would probably finish at 5 a.m. The helper arrives at 8 a.m. And in between, Mark would come home to change clothes. Let him see this mess. Didn't want to go home? Then don't have this home. When I turned on my phone again, a flood of missed calls from Mark poured in, more than the whole of last year, and voice messages one after another on WeChat. But it didn't matter anymore. I had already taken my 3-year-old son and boarded an international cruise for a trip around the world. I wanted to take him around the world before he started school. I brought a nanny and a tutor with me, worry-free and effortless. With money, who doesn't know how to enjoy? Don't necessarily have to be with a man. However, during this period, Mark would receive a court summons. I didn't discuss with him at all and submitted a divorce application directly to the court. Property division was also settled with the lawyer. If he still jabbered, my trip around the world would exactly cover the 2-year separation period. By then, this divorce is certain. Speaking of when I decided to divorce, well, it's not a long story. Like most women, because of childbirth, I left the workplace and naturally became a housewife. From the moment I left the company, Mark and I seemed to head in different directions. Time made us drift apart. Mark went from complaining at the start, "Wifey, the company really can't run without you," to later becoming triumphant. "Being a boss is about using people, better not do everything yourself." So, even he started playing the art of managing people, let alone me. Being shelved was deserved. Where was the need for me to struggle in the workplace? But my heart was empty, unsettled. A voice deep in my heart seemed to tell me, "Your life shouldn't be like this." But looking at the luxurious house in front of me and the abundant figures in the bank account, I persuaded myself to be content. I focused on taking care of the father and son, with all my heart, especially Mark. I seemed to rely on him more than ever, but he was the opposite of me. From replying as much as possible when I shared bits of the baby, to no reaction when I told him I cried listening to Flying Life. This was only a span of 2 or 3 years, so I exiled myself, mingled in the circle of wives, letting the worldly dust bury me, until I picked up a book again, reading those things about Ming Dynasty, reading the last chapter. Chongzhen hanged himself on Coal Hill, Li Ziqing entered Beijing, Qing troops entered the pass, the world was in chaos, and at this moment, Su Shaka was sitting atop Mount Huang, listening to the sound of snow melting all night. All of this tells you that century-old foundations, eternal fame, and everlasting reputation are not as good as living this life in the way you like. At this point, my mind suddenly opened up. What forced me to make a decision were actually small things. That was the first time I met Rebecca. It was rare for Mark and me to attend a wedding together. I attached great importance to it and arranged everything in advance. Mark and I drove one car, arrived together, and sat at the head table. Just before getting in the car, the moment I was about to open the passenger door, the door suddenly opened from the inside out. I couldn't dodge in time and was hit squarely. Wearing stilettos, I almost fell after being hit. Stumbling back a few steps, I barely steadied myself. For a moment, I was dizzy, tears streaming down my face, and the place I was hit hurt badly. The car door was quickly closed again, the window slowly lowered, revealing a young and lively face, playfully sticking her tongue out at me. "Sorry, madam, Mr. Mark is giving me a ride on the way." Inside the car, Mark looked at me apologetically. "Alice, sorry, she is Rebecca, my new secretary. She didn't mean it just now. Please bear with it." I scolded him sternly. Is there such a coincidence in this world? When I pulled the door handle, she happened to be getting out, and didn't notice anyone standing by the door. Besides, if anyone should explain, it's her. You are not her. How do you know the situation at that time? Mark's expression changed drastically. Just as he was about to say something, Rebecca opened the car door again, tears in her eyes, pearls falling on a jade plate on her round face. She spoke aggrievedly. "Madam, it's all my fault, making you quarrel with Mr. Mark. I'll leave first." After speaking, she ran away. Mark got out of the car, chased a few steps, and grabbed her. "Get off when we reach the place. Be obedient. This is a villa area. You can't get a taxi." So she obediently sat in the back seat. After speaking, Mark ignored me and got into the car himself, looking ahead angrily. I could have driven to the wedding myself, but it would make my parents worry about my relationship with Mark. Nowadays, they were constantly reminding me to be careful. I didn't want more trouble, so I also got into the back seat of the car, sitting side by side with Rebecca. Mark was even angrier. He turned around and roared at me. "I gave you the passenger seat. What are you still dissatisfied with? Must you be so awkward?" I didn't indulge him, retorting directly. "Are you satisfied only after scolding me like this in front of outsiders and making me lose face? Is this how impatient you are with me? Where did your good temper go?" He paused for a moment, like a stuck record player. I continued, "From the company to here." She sat for a long time. "Right." The seat was warmed by her. She just got up. "And you want me to sit? Do I have any compelling reason to sit in that seat? Can't I feel uncomfortable? My mom is a huge clean freak, causing me to have a bit of misophobia inevitably, even if I don't want to be influenced by her. Since long ago, I rarely sit on chairs in public areas." Mark wouldn't be unaware. He used to be very considerate, putting his jacket on the chair for me before letting me sit. But now, not only does he not care, he probably forgot completely. At this moment, he finally lost his temper completely, deflating like a pierced balloon. I said wearily, "Let's go. Drive. If we don't go, we'll be late." After the car started, Rebecca said to me timidly, "Mrs. Mark, sorry, I shouldn't have sat in the passenger seat. I just felt that with the boss driving, if I sat in the back, like a leader, It would be even more inappropriate. My voice was cold. Stop it. Every word you said from beginning to end, everything you did, doesn't look like something a person in this position would do. I leaned forward and said to Mark, by the way, is the company going to lose money? You have to cut expenses and recruit people like this. Are there no professionals for you to choose from? Mark suppressed his anger and argued with me. Alice, can you not be so mean and harsh? She is just a young girl. I also suppressed my anger. You told me, the company is not a charity, raising no idlers. Mark took a deep breath and found another topic to argue with me. I'd rather use some potential newcomers than some old people with no potential. I sneered. Who are you fooling? This sentence applies to the technical department, sales department, but not the administrative department. Mark smashed the steering wheel with his hand, the car horn blaring loudly, startling passers-by to look over. Mark seemed to vent his anger only this way. After a long time, he calmed down and continued to argue with me. Alice, no one is born knowing everything. Everyone starts as a newcomer. Start as a newcomer. I continued to sneer. That also requires a training process. Look at her. A face of ignorance. Clearly a state of skipping 3 grades. You were just fooling yourself with these words. You. Mark turned to look at me, eyes red. I shouted, don't look at me, look at the road. You have a beauty accompanying you. Dying is not unjust. I still have a son to raise. Aside, Rebecca finally cried out loud. Mark roared, can you fucking stop crying? Isn't it messy enough? The car finally quieted down. At the wedding, Mark, who had calmed down, asked me, what exactly do you dislike about Rebecca? So averse to her. Then, a bit secretly delighted, are you jealous of her? Eating the flying vinegar of a little girl randomly. You are a mother, yet act like a child. My expression was indifferent, tone sharp, whether she was exceptionally appointed. You know in your heart, I advise you to put away those dirty thoughts. Am not dead yet. You. Mark's face showed the anger of embarrassment after his thoughts were exposed. Flushed red. Good. You tell me, where did she do wrong? Besides accidentally opening the door and almost hitting you. I looked at him meaningfully. Is this point alone not enough? Not to mention whether she did it on purpose. Her panic alone makes her incompetent for the job. Mark looked embarrassed. This point is controversial. Say more. Preferably something concrete. Concrete. Of course there is. I was not impatient. Speaking slowly. Even if I'm not your wife, I am a shareholder. If she could do some homework, she would know the marketing director is just acting now. The real director is me. I'm still on maternity leave. Just now she almost hit me first. Then sat in the car explaining to me. Have you seen a subordinate sitting and talking to a superior in the workplace? I tell you, Mark, in the case of making a mistake, a subordinate can't sit still at all. Mark lowered his head slightly, then raised it decisively. I believe in my judgment. I will cultivate her well. You wait and see. For the first time, I looked him up and down as if I didn't know this person. He felt uncomfortable under my gaze and turned sideways. Since then, Mark seemed to have found a perfect excuse for himself, supporting and cultivating Rebecca in various ways. In front of me, he was also justifiably good to her in various ways. Against my questioning, he promoted her from secretary to assistant again. Once he mentioned Rebecca to me. Very proud. You don't know. It's precisely because of your pressure that Rebecca has more motivation to move up, and I have more mind to cultivate her. I replied lazily. Men who compete with their wives have no promise. He flung the jacket on his arm in anger and hid out the door. Now it's good. He doesn't have to hide from me. I went out too. A very, very long way away. Didn't want this home. Then let it scatter. When the two of them got the first big order together, a small celebration was held in the company. It was said the reward was calculated separately. This was just an appetizer. They ordered high-end sushi takeout and shared with many colleagues. In high spirits, Rebecca took selfies. She held a selfie stick. To cooperate with her, Mark got very close to her. The two almost touched heads and faces. Others became the background. The photo almost became a sticker of the two of them. Rebecca posted the photo on social media. Caption: merit complete. I silently took a screenshot. Can't use this for divorce, but I have other uses. Subsequently, I got many of her selfies through social media. For example, she was sick, and Mark went to take care of her. The photo this time was a hand within 4 drip, and Mark's hand very close. The caption was 2 hands, 1 heart. Mark's ring was also exposed in the photo. He didn't find it strange at all, liking it backhandedly. I screenshot this like together. It had Mark's name on it. Rebecca's birthday. Many people came to the office. The cake was big, ordered in the company's name. In the photo, Rebecca and Mark were in the C position again. The caption was, "What to do when meeting a generous boss. Naturally, if the Lord does not abandon, I will follow." At a private party on a small yacht, Mark took her along in the name of contacting clients. Rebecca, who had seen the big world, was no longer the pitiful little thing who cried when she saw me back then. She was full of relaxation, wearing a bikini, posing like a socialite in front of the camera, revealing white teeth, smiling arrogantly and proudly. A large back figure behind her was Mark wearing casual clothes, currently drinking and chatting happily with others. Rebecca's caption was, "Coming to this kind of party, one female companion per person, really will be misunderstood. Never coming again next time." Also, a photo of a BMW car on social media. Caption, "Year-end bonus in hand. Ecstatic." But the boss said this is just the beginning, asking everyone, "What's the next step?" Dare not think. Covering mouth snickering emoji. I chatted with a few familiar wives, asking since this woman is so capable, as a shareholder and the boss wife, should I also express something? Several wives pursed their lips and smiled, all saying they hadn't heard how capable she was. Only saw President Mark always taking her out. I nodded. Mark going out was always strictly business. Quick battle, quick decision. After partnering with Rebecca, the stay time on business trips increased significantly. He knew I was familiar with company operations and didn't hide it from me. The little girl loves to play, so I might as well relax too. So Mark's figure was often seen in Rebecca's photos, sometimes holding her bag, sometimes holding her ice cream. I collected all these photos and made them into memes, especially the very first sticker of the two. Due to the lens, their faces were almost deformed, perfect for making memes. One person emitting small stars from the chest, one person emitting small hearts from the chest. Then caption, "Stars and the moon are not a perfect match. Stars need to match with small hearts." The yacht one was remade by me. Caption, "Big bosses are all floating clouds. Sister is beautiful alone." Then these memes were all used by me in our wives group. For a time, the group was extremely lively. Many wives said about me, "Can play, have skills." I didn't refuse to yield. Almost whatever was in Rebecca's social media, I made corresponding memes. Just didn't expect these memes could not only discuss the adulterous couple but also have other uses. I found that my presence in the wives group was not high originally, but after this tossing, I almost became a core figure, because I exposed family ugliness myself. Many wives chatted with me privately about emotional issues, and some wives wanted to take me to invest. These photos soon reached Mark's hands. He found me angrily, slamming a stack of photos on the table beside me. I played with him, acting with him, wearing a mask, dragging his sleeve, about to cry. "Hubby, believe me, I am clean outside. Nothing happened. These photos are all synthesized." Mark's monstrous anger suddenly disappeared, looking at me like looking at a monster. "What are you talking about?" I continued acting. "You ran home angrily, of course listening to villain slander, thinking I was messing around outside, isn't it?" I asked while taking off the mask, looking at those photos seriously, sneering in my heart. "Isn't the photo of him and Rebecca?" So I really laughed out loud. Cough. "I thought it was some synthesized fake photo of me and a handsome guy, making you so angry. Turns out it's yours." "Then what are you angry about?" Mark's face was iron blue. "What yours?" "Ours, Alice. Be serious. Don't look unconcerned." The next second, I also changed my face, expression cold. I asked him, "You tell me, what's going on with these photos?" "What do you mean what's going on? It's all fucking business. How did you become like this? Suspicious all day, looking like you want to catch adultery in bed?" He asked me angrily. I just said one sentence, "Since it's business," and the photos were posted by her, not secretly taken by me. "What are you angry about?" He was stunned at once. I continued, "She can post on social media. I can't forward. Feeling you are America. Your family's laws are all to sanction me. Open your dog eyes and look carefully. Are there insulting words in my caption? No. Right. So, what are you guilty about? Where am I guilty?" Mark seemed to finally catch my mistake and began to counterattack. "I just think it's bad for you to be like this. You make it hard for the little girl. Do you know? I don't know about this." I restrained my emotions and said calmly, "I only know that she posted these things, discussed by people in the circle. I am very hard to do. Since it's already stinking, might as well pick it open, so I can still be a person in the wives' circle, saving others from discussing me behind my back all day long." Mark frowned tightly, like hearing something incredible. Fist clenched and loosened and clenched. I completely cooled down, face gloomy. "Mark, Not only you can get angry, I am not made of mud either. Stop pretending, be generous and honest. I can still think highly of you. His face flushed red, turned and left, leaving only one sentence. I don't know what you are talking about. The moment he closed the door, I threw a glass cup over. Just at the moment the door didn't close, the glass cup fell on the ground. Glass shards probably splashed on him. Then I cursed. Fuck your mom. He originally wanted to open the door and say a few more words, but finally closed the door and walked away without looking back. Now it's good. I have traveled far from home. That door no longer needs to be closed and opened and closed. It can be completely closed. I drifted on the sea for the 4th month, somewhat reluctant to think of home. My son, who was originally withered by interest classes, also became vibrant, every day excitedly telling me where was fun, wanted to go again, where could see dolphins, wanted to go with me. I listened with a smile, watching him chatter. I felt this trip, even not for divorce, was worth it. Of course, I wasn't idle on the divorce aspect. Since the litigation request was submitted, assets were naturally within the regulatory scope, but afraid of losing out, I still constantly sent people to audit the company in various names. Several groups of people went down, even old accounts were turned upside down. Presumably they were too busy to cope, should have no time to think of ideas to pit me. Seeing the child happy, even my parents had nothing to say. Reading history books can make one wise. After this step, I naturally thought of several steps ahead. Mark, like opposing your wife so much, then wait to take the move. About another month later, I got up facing the morning sun in the cruise balcony room, and a phone call suddenly came. Seeing it was Mark's, I knew what should come would come. If he actively proposed divorce, it was also a good choice, and I could accept it. I picked up the phone, facing the turning point of destiny, my heart also pounding. Unexpectedly, choking sounds came from Mark's end. I didn't know what time it was in the country. Time was blurred here for me, let alone domestic time. Only heard Mark weeping somewhat uncontrollably, completely different from his usual cold self-restraint. To be honest, with his usual serious face, he would only relax a bit when seeing Rebecca. I sometimes felt, were the two of them a natural pair? Was I beating the Mandarin ducks? But now, none of it matters. Mark and I are wrapping up. Alice, what exactly did I do? Reduced to today, wife and child separated, returning home, cold and cheerless, not even a person to serve soup and rice. I didn't expect him to say such emotionally exposed words. Unprepared. For a time, I was stunned, then sneered at him. The dignified President Mark, first playing dumb, wanting to pamper a woman but only daring to do it secretly, then selling misery, wanting the wife to go home, glossing over peace. Mark, same sentence, be generous and honest. I still think highly of you. By the way, how did you answer me last time I said these words to you? You slammed the door and left. All right, now there is no annoying me at home. You can maintain your gentlemanly demeanor, slowly close the door, and then leave that home. Bless you. May all you think come true. After speaking, I hung up the phone, laughing. If not discussing divorce, such inexplicable calls are better made less. Just as I thought so, the phone rang again. Mark cried uncontrollably on the other end. Wifey, come home. I don't want a divorce. I want to live well with you. I was impatient to hear him say these. The atmosphere here is not suitable for saying these. Talk when I go back. See you in 2 years. Mark on the other end became happy. Wifey, when are you coming back? Back. I was impatient. What back? I mean, I'm having fun now. Don't want to talk about these bad debts between husband and wife. Where were you a few years ago, when we should have talked properly? You didn't talk. Insisting on finding me bad luck at such a time. Mark, did I owe you money in my previous life and not pay back? Didn't you insist on competing with me? You won. Your trusted assistant is indeed capable, obvious to all, known to everyone. You won. Okay, I lost. Mark, I lost. Mark, you are really capable. You won your wife clean and thorough. You are amazing. On the other end of the phone came only Mark's sobbing sounds. No more words, but no intention to hang up either. Again I hung up the phone first. He called again, but this time I didn't pick up. Looks like Mark probably shed all the tears of this life. Speaking of Mark and me, we had days of love, knowing each other in youth, falling in love in youth, middle-aged couple. The journey was smooth and sweet. Mark is not a person good at words, but I remember a sentence he said until now. He said I was the right person. He met the right person at the right time. In terms of family background, Mark's family background was very good, otherwise our entrepreneurship wouldn't have been so smooth. But my family wasn't bad either. At least within the range of the G family choosing a daughter-in-law, I was a top candidate. Maybe it was too smooth. Mark and I became somewhat dull later, so much so that he needed to make some adjustments. Slowly, his taste became heavy, needing more and more adjustments, so much so that the adjustment dared to challenge the staple food. Alright, past events cannot be pursued, past things should be turned over. I told myself this, but that night, I was a bit sad, started reminiscing about a dying relationship. Actually, after the car door incident and before the meme incident started, he briefly tried to repair this relationship. That day I was chatting with a confidant wife. I turned on the video call, arranging flowers while chatting with her, talking about a model couple in the circle breaking up because of a mistress. Both sighed. That confidant wife said, "Don't say, her mistress is really strong, genuine technical backbone aside, person is also beautiful, temperament clean." I casually cut a flower branch, speaking mockingly. Yeah, they are not wronged, only I am wronged. My family's taste is bad, taste unique, finding a mistress not finding a prettier one, except for the temperament of weakness that can handle men. Nothing else can be shown. TSK, laughter over there. Look at you, a clever mouth, talking about weak temperament. Patients are weaker. Could it be your family likes this type? I scoffed. Maybe it is, the wife over there said. Jokes aside, we can't divorce to make room for others. Drag, just drag, not divorcing. Boil the mistress old. I put down the scissors in my hand, lost in thought. Divorce. I hadn't thought about it. Mark was getting more and more excessive. Rebecca's social media posts were getting more and more. I had already started finding someone to make memes about her. But divorce. How to say? Mark and I have been husband and wife for many years. Dependence and involvement are extremely deep, like slowing down on a curve while driving. When I need to turn in the marital relationship, it's actually impossible to be very brisk. Always have to slow down first. Reduce speed to the minimum at the deepest part of the curve. Wait for the car head to turn, then accelerate away. I sighed, and a sigh came from behind, startling me. Mark, who was usually not home during the day, suddenly appeared behind me, silent like a ghost. Not knowing how long he stood there, Mark started a bit dazed, then became somewhat dejected, finding a sofa nearby to sit down. Voice low, said to me, I said how the matter of me and Rebecca is known to everyone. Turns out you are ruining us everywhere. Alice, I know you are angry, but do you know doing this harms others without benefiting yourself? I recovered from shock, extremely angry, taking a few deep breaths. I opened the WeChat wives group, turned to previous chat records for him to see. That day the wives were all present, discussing happily. They gathered photos of mistresses of each family, commenting one by one. When talking about Rebecca, someone said, I said early on this little girl is not authentic. Mrs. G still didn't admit it, saying she had confidence in her husband. Chest patting bang bang at that time. How about it? Face slapped now. That day I wasn't there, didn't come out to defend myself. Also irrefutable, because what that wife said was true. I indeed gave Mark complete and thorough trust. I thought he, refined and of good origin, would be different from others. I scrolled the screen for Mark bit by bit, letting him look carefully. The more he looked, the more Mark's brows relaxed. Finally he said happily, Still you are good, Alice. I knew you weren't those vulgar people. My expression turned cold, repeating his words. I am not a vulgar person. So, have to be wronged by you, prove innocence myself. So, I have to endure this humiliation and embarrassment. Just as I was about to explode, Mark pulled me into his arms. It's hubby's fault. Ill correct. Watch my performance. But she and I, really nothing. Don't scare yourself. The next day, I got up and washed in my own bedroom. Mark and I had slept in separate rooms for a long time. I was eating breakfast when I suddenly heard a car horn in the yard. I couldn't help putting down the food in my hand and went out to check. Saw Mark standing spiritedly by the car, greeting me with a smile. Morning, wifey. Want a trip? Just walking away. He smiled with curved eyes. The study light was on for half the night last night. He stayed up late working overtime. Also for today's trip. Seeing my hesitation, he explained. Parents are on the way. They will take the child. You come with me. The neighboring city now has a luxury buffet dinner on a sea cruise. We rush there today. Eat seafood on the cruise. Stay one night. Rush back tomorrow. I was somewhat fascinated listening. Couldn't help agreeing. When getting in the car, opening the door, a burst of anger suddenly rose in me. On the passenger seat, there were obvious food crumbs, even on the foot mat. I was shocked and angry, mouth unable to close. Shocked that these food crumbs were so obvious. How could Mark not see? angry that since he saw it and turned a blind eye, it meant this was a frequent phenomenon, so he wasn't surprised, who always sat in his passenger seat, and who spoiled his car so blatantly. Mark was influenced by me, having some misophobia more or less. Normally he would never allow others to do this. Who this person was, ready to come out. Mark was originally in high spirits, seeing me shocked and angry, following my gaze. A trace of unnaturalness flashed on his face, with a bit of panic, explaining to me, accidentally got dirty. If you dislike it, I'll find someone to clean it immediately. I said, no need, I'm not going. Mark became angry from embarrassment. Alice, do you have to throw a tantrum with me over such a small thing? Do you know how much sacrifice I made for today? I only said indifferently, when you accompanied her on travel, it never counted as sacrifice, right? All water flows to form a canal, just right. Mark's brows frowned deeply, hands clenched tight. I said again, since it's a trip just walking away, then I can completely say not go and not go. Besides, my expression was infinitely mocking. Who exactly likes this whim? Walking away just like that. Probably that young girl too. You are used to coaxing her with this trick, so you copied it to coax me. Mark, I actually like to make a plan before setting off. Today was specially giving you face. Let's end here. Don't make each other more unhappy. Finished speaking, I turned and left. Mark shouted behind me, Alice, don't regret. Later I learned that Mark was preparing to transfer Rebecca away from his side, but after that day, it was as if nothing happened, everything as usual, and their interaction became more undisguised, more frequent. Later, my memes came out, shocking the wives' circle. Mark and I were even more unable to turn around. I started arranging divorce matters. In the end, on the day of the company anniversary, I expected no good feast, booked an international cruise for global travel in advance. Shortly after, the divorce application I submitted long ago was delivered to Mark by the court. The mansion about to collapse makes people sigh, but there are traces to follow. Mark and I can't go back. The international cruise docked in the Aegean Sea. I took the child to Santorini, blue roofs, white houses, entrusted lover sentiments, but if there is no partner, it actually doesn't delay seeing the scenery. Coming to the top holiday destination on the planet, I was in a great mood. Actually, when staying on the cruise for a month, my mood had improved a lot. Some say, only when unhappy do you think of traveling. I deeply agree. Travel indeed relaxes body and mind. Mark appeared at this time. I was sitting by the seaside drinking coffee, seawater at my feet, waves hitting the shore. Mark in casual clothes appeared in front of me. He found words, pretending to be relaxed. Are you surprised? I deliberately disgusted him. Thinking of whose side you came from. Feel your appearance is spoiling the scenery. Mark's smile froze. I transferred her away. We'll issue a dismissal notice in a while. Not good to make too much of a scene. Between you and me, didn't see you handle so carefully. I said calmly, Mark, you didn't save face for me. My dignity was trampled under your feet long ago. Fun, Mark. He lowered his head, shook it again. Not fun. The price is too big. I can't afford it. His voice got lower and lower, finally with some crying tone. Inaudible. I originally wanted to talk divorce with him in Milan, but after deliberation, still chose this honeymoon resort. Divorce. Already disgusted seeing each other. Don't know what you were dragging for. I was originally a shareholder of the company. Allocate part of real estate and bonds to the child's name. Split the rest between us. Not excessive. Just like this. Part on good terms. I wish you early good marriage. Give birth to precious son again in advance. Mark's eyes suddenly turned red. He rubbed his face with his hands, calming his mind. I know I did excessively, but no matter how excessive, I didn't cheat. I was wrong, but I didn't cross the line. I suddenly lost patience. Don't you like her? Be together if you like. What is money? Can earn again if gone. Besides, money during marriage originally had my share. I didn't contribute less to entrepreneurship. You don't lose. He hurriedly argued. I never said I liked her. I replied mechanically and coldly. You didn't say in mouth, but behavior and actions are saying. Suddenly, I got angry again. Talking about you. Do you still want me to give you a love lesson? Fine. I'll be a good person to the end. Let me tell you. Your words and deeds towards her reveal liking everywhere. Love in eyes can't be hidden. Don't miss her. She's your true love. Don't waste life. You are very matched. He shook his head quickly denying. No, no, to her. Can say pity, can say lifting and cultivating, can say everything, but only not love. This point I can still distinguish. I was too lazy to listen. Then talk failed. See you in court. He suddenly grabbed my hand. How not to divorce? You mention any condition. Face full of sincerity, the hand holding mine. Knuckles distinct due to excessive force. My heart suddenly beat wildly. I anticipated this result. He would pester not to divorce. Although I estimated this matter likely wouldn't happen. Now it is alive in front of my eyes. I remembered the countermeasures I deduced. Heart starting to hesitate. As if seeing my mind, Mark exerted force again. As long as you mention, no matter what requirement. I agree. As long as not divorce. I lowered my head and thought for a moment. Looking up again, eyes clear. Good. Since you say so, then I mention conditions. Not divorce is fine. I will be the company president. Initially you help me. Later I make decisions myself. I calmly explained the plan. You go home to bring up the child. By the way, take over family investments in stocks, real estate funds. These are not small amounts. Initially you also rely on me to lead the way. Mark didn't consider too much. Expression slowly soaked with a layer of joy. That joy spread from surface, so he laughed from the heart. Agreed. This trip, finally not in vain. Our whole family played around in Greece and flew back to the country. When I sat in the president's position, Rebecca's whereabouts were unknown, and I didn't care much. I have more important things to do. I made a simple plan for my work, combining experiences in investment and financial management over these years. Made some adjustments to myself and the company's future. First, recruit a vice president who understands management to assist me in managing the company, making up for my deficiencies. Second, according to my investment experience, the company's debt ratio is too high, risk is large. Third, the company's main business is software outsourcing, business items too single, risk also relatively large, need to expand customer group. I handed my plan to Mark, listening to his opinion. I never presided over the big picture. Initial start, still need Mark's support. Mark first affirmed my first point, praising me greatly. Regarding the second point, he said no way. Software outsourcing business is equivalent to party B builder in the construction industry, needing to advance funds and being owed project funds during settlement. The third point, easier said than done. I nodded. Actually, I really have room to display for the third point. These years I mixed well in the wives' circle. Many people give me face. Marketing relies on connections. These are my resources. When high-quality customers enter, the ones who always owed payments before can be eliminated. Funds will turn over better. Debt ratio will also decrease. My efforts were recognized by all shareholders including Mark. I didn't fail their expectations. At the same time, I sent people to investigate Rebecca's whereabouts. Found my husband gave her $5 million when sending Rebecca away. I immediately went through legal procedures, demanding her to return joint marital property. Rebecca found me angrily. At first security stopped her, not letting her in. I magnanimously let her come to the president's office to meet. I like watching the opponent fall the most, since she delivered herself for me to watch for free. When I saw Rebecca again, she was neither the little pitiful at first sight, nor the clawing mistress later. Somewhat had some confidence settled by years. Who knew opening mouth broke defense? Why do you sit here? I couldn't hold back laughter. A mouthful of coffee almost sprayed out, fortunately restrained in time. Smile still hanging on my lips, said to her, winner takes all, loser is bandit. This position is the reward for the winner. Her face flushed red, speechless. After a long time, she said, $5 million was promised by President Mark. You can't go back. I can veto. I said firmly, this is the wife's power. I know your quality is low, but won't be legally blind. I don't have time to do legal education for you. Understand yourself more. She suddenly exploded. He doesn't love you at all. If he loved you, there wouldn't be me. I didn't change color. Indeed, she choked at once. You don't care. I shook my head. I care. I care very much whether my husband loves me. So, because of your advice, I will propose divorce again. Rebecca was speechless, only widening eyes, looking at me with infinite shock. When Mark learned this, he sighed, but dared not speak to me viciously anymore. Instead advised kindly, sorry, wifey, made you angry again. I just felt she was pitiful. No, there are so many pitiful people. How can I pity them all? I nodded, still human words, signaling him to continue. Her reputation stank because of me. She couldn't stay in this city, so I thought of giving her some capital to start over. Also count as compensation. Also count as dismissal. Anyway, irrelevant to feelings between men and women, I said to him indifferently, I don't agree. First, her reputation stank because of herself. Originally she was close to you, but with work relationship, even with rumors, reputation wouldn't be too bad. If not for her posting everything on social media, no one knew her appearance. And details between you two, all leaked by herself. Second, you sent a signal that she could approach. She smelled it and came. Both sides are responsible for this matter. So what does this 5 million count as? Breakup fee. But you don't admit touching her. You don't even admit clarifying anything with her. Want us three to have a face-to-face confrontation. Mark shook head. No need. 5 million isn't a big number. I raised hand interrupting him. 5 million isn't a big number. You are too exaggerated. Know what 5 million means. A software talent. Except for individual high-end ones. Averaging. Working for 30-some years in a lifetime earns just over 10 million. Why should she take away half a lifetime of wealth from others at once, just based on those disgusting things she did, so that she couldn't stay in this city? Hearing me say here, Mark couldn't listen anymore. Good, good, wifey is all right. I did things improperly, I sneered. I didn't chase her relentlessly, exposing her background to her next work unit. Already extreme kindness, still want to take money from me. Then, I changed the topic. Actually, you can divorce freely. At that time give how much money? Isn't it up to you? By the way, if you marry again then, isn't yours hers? Why so troublesome? Mark couldn't listen anymore. Hurriedly found topic about son. Stopped me. 5 years later. I stood firm in the business world long ago. Let alone hosting own company. Even opening a new one I can handle easily. I do better than Mark in all aspects. Even if Mark wants to return to company, it's hard to open mouth. And Mark's intention to change is obvious. Having a posture of wife-pampering maniac. Never mentioning returning to company. Everything depends on me. I won't be unclear with other men for revenge against Mark. My life is not used for this. Regaining freedom. Allowing me enough space to sway talent and enthusiasm is my ultimate goal. This is also the realization I got from reading during the low point of my life. I just want to spend my life like this. Admittedly, I also have time socializing with opposite sex returning late. Mark always waits for me to come home upset before sleeping. Several times opened mouth wanting to ask about my whereabouts, but finally stopped, because what he did back then was much more excessive than me. Finally he lamented, "So, waiting at home tastes like this." I responded to him, "I'm still clean." You waited. If bad rumors spread, wouldn't you be anxious to death? He was dumbfounded, speechless. Sometimes he shares life with me, but except for son's daily life, I respond with indifferent attitude to all, making Mark very hit. Sometimes, he murmurs to himself to me, "Turns out, I was really a bastard back then," but I swapped positions with him not for him to reflect. I just want to climb up more smoothly. Who wants to hear him say these? On our 10th wedding anniversary, Mark took me to the university we attended together. Under the tree where he confessed to me early years, he took out a diamond ring again, proposing to me once more. "Alice, are you willing to marry me?" His eyes burning, face spirited, kneeling on one knee after speaking. I smiled pulling him up, but didn't take the ring. His face dimmed, said sadly, "Alice, I know I wasn't a thing years ago, although tried best to make up these years. You don't seem to appreciate, but luckily we still have many 10 years in future. I will treat you like now." People always feel they have many 10 years with family. This one fails. There is next. Actually time is like trust. Like money too. Not durable spending. There aren't so many 10 years waiting for you at all. Missed is missed. Giving you a bit more is God's grace. I led him to the basketball court. There was a small podium. I asked him, "Remember what interesting thing happened here?" He shook head. "Actually these years I often recall our beginning, but I really can't remember what happened here." I answered him, "A beauty contest was held here once. Boys from several classes gathered together, like Hong Kong beauty pageant, choosing various beauties." Oh, he suddenly realized. I remember. At that time I wasn't chosen as campus belle, but I was chosen as Miss Easiest to fall in love at first sight. I continued for him. "I wasn't present. It was you who accepted the award for me on stage. They asked if you would be jealous. You said you shared the honor." Mark listened with a smile, nodding continuously, but my tone suddenly became sharp. "So, Mark, I am different from those wives. They can tolerate mistresses because either their own conditions are too bad or mentality collapsed. Marrying an outstanding man is already like winning lottery for them, but I am different. I have always been proud, with my conditions. If not you, it will be others, equally able to bring me rich material conditions, and various opportunities. Moreover, even relying on myself alone, I believe I can break out a world. Look at you Mark. I was only 28. You cheated, favor cut before beauty aged. You wasted my best years in vain. By what right? Mark's face was pale, stunned on the spot. I continued criticizing. You let a woman much worse than me in all aspects enter our life, stepping my self-esteem and confidence into mud, letting another person squeeze into our marriage. By what right do you still want me to accept you again? Tell you the truth, dragging 5 years not divorcing. Not only because I need time buffer to step into business world again, also son's factor. I was wrong. I tried my best to make up to him. Son was too small back then. I chose wrong husband. My mistake can't be fully paid by my son. I have to let him enjoy a few years of complete family happiness, then it's my own relief. In this, I only didn't consider you. What you feel. Long not in my consideration scope. Mark lowered head, covering face, sobbing softly. Divorce. While there is still some dignity, after 5 years of sawing and delaying, Mark and I finally divorced. Son also has share in family property. Ratio for me, Mark. Son is 5-4-1. I got most company equity, controlling company. Mark got more family investments. And this field, he was never good at. This is the result I wanted 5 years ago, finally achieved today. Later, often in quiet late nights, Mark inexplicably sent me messages. Sometimes background noisy, sometimes very quiet, but without exception, he was drunk. Opening and closing mouth was heartache, piercing pain, until later I replied to him, Mark, I have a boyfriend, don't send this kind of message again, but he still sent to me occasionally, until I replied to him again, Mark, keeping your contact is for son, don't make me block you. I'm getting married. Since then he never sent me any message. I heard he was very unsuccessful in investment and financial management field. Originally when we weren't divorced, under my guidance, he was somewhat clumsy. Investment methods I told him, he often got investment proportions wrong, causing lower returns. Now fighting alone, lost heavily very quickly. Later, only left a few houses collecting rent to live. Later still, I heard he went to the city where Rebecca was, stirring Rebecca's life into unrest. He asked Rebecca, what did you say to her the last time you saw her? At the beginning, Rebecca mocked him infinitely. Said what? Naturally said everything. If don't want people to know unless you don't do it. Mark threatened her with red eyes. I didn't do anything to you. By what right you slander me? Rebecca laughed out loud. Didn't do anything. That look in your eyes clearly did everything. Besides, not necessarily have to do that to be called doing. Then she asked seriously, I wonder, obviously you did quite a lot, just short of that bit, yet you always shout innocence. Between us, where is innocence? Later seeing Mark really crazy scary, Rebecca dared not entangle with him anymore. Before fleeing in panic, told him clearly, Mark, last time I saw your wife, got a good output from her. I didn't have chance to say anything, really, I only cared about asking for money. Topics all revolved around asking for money. I didn't say anything else. Mark, who was originally like injected with chicken blood, suddenly lost momentum. He squatted down, holding head with hands, muttering to himself, then why she just won't forgive me. Rebecca walked past him carefully, said a sentence, because she is not stupid, she can guess everything, not necessarily have to hear, or see with own eyes. Many things can be felt with heart. Whether a woman is cherished by a man, you can't deceive her, when you don't care about her. To what extent you will betray her, she knows in heart. Actually, back then I was also deceived by you. Rebecca observed Mark while carefully preparing to run. Seeing Mark no reaction, Rebecca ran far away like flying, never returned to that city later, but she tossed around several times, never settled down, naturally mixed very badly. Of course, everything has nothing to do with me, just listening to a joke for amusement.